Good afternoon. This is Veterans Talk. It ain't nothing but a thing, but it's a thing we want you to tune into every Saturday afternoon. I'm Elsa McGee, your host, and I'm here today doing the same thing I've been trying to do ever since we started this show in 2004. Trying to make sense out of a sensitive situation called the plight of veterans in the USA, and the USA with the plight of veterans. And here today, I got a special guest. I mean, somebody that can help us out of a confused situation with this Camp Lejeune stuff. You know, I know y'all enjoyed the Marines last month coming up on their birthday and talking about the Marfa Points Marines, and you know, we brought up the issue of Camp Lejeune. And it should be on everybody's concern list in America today, because these are patrons that was exposed to stuff that they didn't know about, wasn't told about, didn't, you know, and it killed them. Bernard Hutto, how you doing, my brother?
Let me start by saying thank you for allowing me to come on to this forum to discuss what's obviously a confusing situation with Camp Lejeune. Glad to be here, and thank you once again.
Thank you for coming, bro.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to waste much of the show. I want you to get to it and tell. I'm going to have some questions, but I want you to kind of just tell people where this whole thing is at right now, because I know that you've been working with it behind the scene with the powers to be to get it to where it is now. So it's where it at, and, you know, kind of get the audience up on it so we can get through understanding where it is, how it's working, and what can be done to make it work better for our community.
Well, actually, the Washington is still building a website to elaborate the parts about Lejeune, and some of these attorneys, they still don't know, because the DOD, Department of Justice, ain't letting them know right now. So they're actually building this block for a different disease type in ATSDR, which I've been a part of for about 10 years now, the Agency for Toxic Substance Disease Registry. So I want to, you know, see, can I unclog the unclogged situation, but I'll do it the best I can.
Okay. You know, now this basically, everybody know it was contaminated water. Would you kind of give us a like an overview of the time period and, you know, the basic eligibilities that we
from the from the year of 1953, that's when about the contamination was going on, to when they're actually closing down the wells in 1985. I was there in 1985, and toxicology states that in 1985 it was the worst. But what had happened is that these fuel systems, you know, like you're working with the Amtrak, with the gasoline and stuff, what had happened was the gasoline seeped into these wells that was contaminated about, you know, different things, and the part per billion was 200 times the level that it should be, and that's why you got the PCE, which is you know, like a solvent. Then you got the DCE. Then you got vinyl chloride, and so on and so on. So the ATSDR is the agency to try to make a sense out of these disease type. But let me tell you, science is very slow. So, you know, if your disability is not on the list, then you can continue to pursue your case, because you don't never know. We're still doing studies. I'm doing study with New River Air Station at Camp Lejeune. So they are continuous doing stories. They don't meet no more, but we have Zoom calls, and we try to answer all the pertinent calls that the veteran family and civilian, you know, civilian was on Camp Lejeune, and we want to try to make that better for them to go through this process.
Now, the lawyers confuse stuff, because I call them ambulance chasers in certain points. They're talking about two different things that have evolved from you guys' work. There is a tort claim part of it, then there's disability claim part. Can you distinguish what this?
Well, the claim process, you want to go into and start the claim process to get into the VA. The tort side is when you bring litigation against the United States government for damages with LeCamp Lejeune. Let me just say about this. These lawyers, they don't even know exactly what they're doing, because the law state that you can only charge 20 to 25% if it goes to court. But they're putting a cap on it at 40%, and they should not be doing that.
Okay, well, let me ask you something now. Normally, has there have been a pool of money set aside for as a settlement for Camp Lejeune, or is that lawsuit still ongoing?
Well, the lawsuit, see, they denied the cases in the 11th Circuit in 2018. I was one of those MDL cases that had filed before. I filed all the way back in 2011. So they denied it in the 11th Circuit. So that means that for the statute of repose, meaning that you can't bring suit against the government. But the government have lifted the distractions and try to, give damages for what they have done. We have a grave site called Baby Heaven, and some of the girls, who had the babies, they're contaminated. They was contaminated, and I think they should really get paid for that, because that is a horrible situation, and that the government didn't even tell them that they was exposed to highly contaminated, and that include myself. And, that's what they do to the Marines, family, civilians who came aboard Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1987.
So what there is a settlement that the government has already entered with the Marines for Camp Lejeune contaminated water.
Yes, we did the Heath Robertson Act. He was a very patriotic veteran, who served in different war areas. And to make that, President Biden passed the law that we can file suit against the government for damages. And they're setting aside, this is right, if I'm not mistaken, $330 billion, for these claims. And that's why you see all these lawyers running and ripping and running and making all nonsense stuff when you really don't even really have to have a lawyer.
So, but now I'm glad you put that out, man, because but you do have to have a diagnosis of a condition.
You do, absolutely. You have to have a diagnosis. So what are you alleging? If you don't have a diagnosis, then how are you alleging what's happened to you at Camp Lejeune? But here's the thing. You get it on the benefit side, you get service connected, and then you pull a tort claim that might be on the list. The government got hundreds of disease type what TCE, PCE, benzene will do to you, and you have to follow it up. It says in this public health assessment that you must be screened by environmental toxicology.
Okay, key point. I'm glad you did that, because so you're saying that a diagnosis by your VA psychiatrist is not enough to set up the eligibility for the claim.
Well, let me just say that it's enough, but see, here's the thing. Since it's not a presumptive, you got to have causation. Okay, you got to say it is more likely than not likely, but no toxicology can say that. They can say it's probably, yes, that had a factor of him having this disease or this disease. Toxicology is the study of diseases and toxins in your body.
Okay. So we're saying that in order to benefit from either the tort claim or the civil suit part of it or the VA claim part of it, you have to have a diagnosis rendered by a toxicologist?
Well, no.
Okay.
You have to have a disability related to your exposure, because you only have to have 30 days to back count.
No. What I'm asking though, I understand that's the time period of exposure, but I'm talking about the professional, right? Now, we know under the VA claim system, we talk about the elements of a claim, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So in order to get any claim through the VA, any claim, I don't care whether it deal with Camp Lejeune or Vietnam or stateside duty, you have to show service nexus.
Yes,
right? You got to show the service nexus. Now that service nexus comes about by something happened to you doing military service or as a result of that military service.
Absolutely.
But now, under normal circumstances, if I got a say PTSD, right, that was not caused by combat, but was caused by an accident while I was on duty in military service, I can go get any psychiatrist in the community to diagnose that PTSD.
Absolutely.
Now, with the Camp Lejeune stuff, I'm confused. Some people say in order to get a diagnosis that the VA will accept, it has to be done by a toxicologist.
That is not so. That is not true.
Okay.
Your VA doctor diagnoses you. The toxicology is just a recommendation in this public health assessment that you must be screened by environmental toxicology. VA has now started a screening program for different disease types.
Okay. So, in other words, you're telling veterans in the audience today that if one of them loved one is trying to get into the benefit or the civil suit part of the Camp Lejeune thing, they can get a diagnosis of any of the presumptives or health effects by any professional psychiatrist or MD.
Yes, they can get a presumptive. You don't have to be on the presumptives. This was 15 health effects what Obama did in 2012. But, the health effects should have been, to me, all 15 health effects should have been presumptive. But we fought with them, and they gave us 8 presumptives. So, we tried to fight for the veteran, and I was on a community assistance panel called the CAP. So I was the one to inform all of the civilians and everybody about their exposure while I was stationed at Camp Lejeune.
Okay. Well, that's good news for our audience because, see, one of the things that Vietnam Veterans of America pride itself in doing is filing win claims.
Yes.
And right now, we are looking at making sure that the Camp Lejeune veterans,
yes,
the Camp Lejeune beneficiaries are getting the right help in filing the claims that they need. So what you are giving us today is a clear route to help the veterans and their families with the Camp Lejeune stuff.
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm just telling everybody, you can call in and talk to Bernard if you want to at 470-215-4707. Call in, talk to us right now if you got any questions. Because, see, the only dumb question is a question that's not asked.
Yes, sir.
Right now, I've been telling y'all that we're going to get somebody on the show to help us navigate this Camp Lejeune stuff because all the lawyers are making us see is dollars, but they're not telling us that we might be missing out on the dollars if you don't do it right. They'll tell you in a minute there ain't gonna be no charge if you don't win.
Yes.
But they're not telling us what it takes to win, Bernard. So can you kind of talk with us a little bit about that, brother?
If you filing a claim, whether the government got this long list of disease types, okay, they're going to start with the first 8 presumptives. But remember, there was 15 presumptives, that not presumptive, but health effects Obama had set forth in 2012. So if you want, if you're presumptive, that's good. But say you have something like prostate cancer. Okay, well, it's not on the presumptives, but you go back and look at all the exposure for the past 30 days, and you only had to be on that base for 30 days. And what that could do to you later on in life, develop cancer and kidney cancer and so on and so on. So it's some nasty diseases, but we know that I can navigate this stuff, so I can make it very easy for people, to understand the claim process.
And one of the things you kind of said, you kind of pointed out, but then you stepped away from it. I want to go back there. This stuff affected more than the veterans.
Yes.
It actually has some problems with birth defects.
Exactly.
So could you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, that was a lot of females, we call them WMs in the Marine Corps. They was having stillbirths and they was having miscarriages. And I talked to one Marine, she said she had 7 miscarriages and she couldn't understand why that she was conceding these babies, couldn't conceive, and they found out it was a fertilization between TCE, PCE, and the chemical station while she was in Gamma June.
Well, we want you to know this is what we do on this show. Veterans Talk, veterans talking to veterans in the community about all things veterans. Now, we want to kind of skip over a little bit. We're going to get back to Bernard with some more questions and get some more information. But I want y'all to know that this is the last month in 2022. I know everybody out there getting ready to file taxes, and you need to get donations in to somebody. Now, we got Vietnam Veterans of America project, Sons of Atlanta. You can go to sonsofatlanta.org today, sonsofatlanta.org, and either buy a brick or make a donation. And you can just write it off your taxes when you're filing your taxes at the end of the year. Buy a brick or make a donation at sonsofatlanta.org. We need your support. Without your support, we couldn't do the show. We couldn't afford to do the show. We couldn't afford to do a lot of things that we're doing in the community. And Bernard also have his own organization that help claims, because we work in partnership with on different claims and have been doing this for years. So, Bernard, could you tell them about BBE a little bit?
Well, it was a project that my wife decided. She said, let me see. You like veteran issues stuff. So let's start something. So we went to a friend of mine named Nate, and he said, y'all ought to start a corporation. And my wife said, yes, I think so, because my husband, he just go crazy about this veteran issue. So Nate, he put all the bylaws together, this and this and this and this. And he told us how this nonprofit should work and all that and stuff. But so we have been out there since 2010, and it's now 2022. So
one of the things that we do here with Veterans Talk, we look at all veterans providers, all veteran service organizations as being about the same thing. So we want to make sure that if you're looking for nonprofits, you can look to this show and deal with BBE, you can deal with AMVEX, you can deal with Vietnam Veterans of America. But what we want you to do is be able to support the veterans in your community. And this is what we do. This is what Bernard BBE do. This is what Vietnam Veterans of America do. This is what AMVEX does. This is what American Legion does. But we want you to think during these given holiday seasons to support a VSO. These are organizations that work to help make sure veterans get their benefits and get the help that they need in the community to do certain things. So, and we do more than just file benefits. Bernard and I collaborate on a feeding program working through our church. We work with Grace Ministries. So pick a veteran provider or a nonprofit this month. This is the last month in the year. Just pick a nonprofit and make a donation to it. You can write it off your taxes. Help us do the work that we're trying to do in the community. I'm so proud of these organizations. And I mean, I've spent the last 4 or 5 months reaching out to different organizations, and they've been coming to the show to show that people got to realize we are not in competition with each other.
No,
we're in collaboration with each other.
Absolutely.
We need to work together. We need to talk. We need to have these conversations about how can I help BBE? How can BBE help me? How can we all work together to do things in our community in a better way? Because we don't want media or donors to make us feel like we are in competition, because we are not.
Right.
We're not in competition. And we want you to take the rest of these holidays, pick a nonprofit that work with veterans to make your donations. That's what we want you to do. Pick a nonprofit that work with veterans, help veterans in your community, and make a donation. I don't care whether it's American Legion, BBE, or Vietnam Veterans of America.
We're all on the same team.
We're all on the same team. So this is Veterans Talk. Listen, now, one of the other things that we do, we have Veteran Art Job Service that's coming up. We want you to think about letting veterans do your yard care in 2020 and 2021. We want you to think about letting us do construction cleanups. We want you to do, we want to do home care. We are doing a lot of different things to make sure that we can turn some of the money that's being generated back into our communities. Right now, most of the businesses in our communities are owned by people that take the money out the community. They don't give back. You know, they're not organizations that give back to the community. They're not organizations that's out there looking at the homeless problem as their problem. And we got a real homeless problem in Fulton County. You know, the city of Atlanta right now got a big problem with people being homeless. Whether they are veterans or not, we're going to look at this issue in 2023. And through all of this organization's collaboration, we're going to collaborate enough to get people off the streets. You know, my faith say the poor will always be with us, but it didn't say nothing about they got to be homeless. Especially when we live in a city like Atlanta. We got more building space right now vacant with the lights on and the water running than we got homeless people. We just got to get the politicians, those people that we elect. And I'm so glad the election is about over. But now, you want to say something about that? Because I have seen so much toxic stuff, so much stuff trying to separate us as people in this democracy, that the democracy itself is in danger.
Well, I'm not endorsing any one of them, but you know I'm gonna vote, and I let me just say right here now, I'm gonna vote for Reverend Warnock, and that's it. I didn't want to politicize it, but I think he stands for the value that I like, and he's gonna fight for the veterans, and he's gonna fight for the people and the old and the sick, and I think he will be a better candidate for me.
Well, I mean, I don't endorse. I already voted.
Right.
You know, I already voted, and I am not afraid to tell somebody who I voted for.
Right.
I voted for Reverend Warnock. I'm gonna just say this about this candidate. During the past year or so that he's been in office, he has been out in the community trying to learn and advocate for people. He's been addressing issues for the people. You know, think about, I mean, you're a diabetic,
yes.
Yes. Bernard.
Yes.
And so you know the cost of insulins, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you wasn't a veteran getting it from the
veteran, I'll be at the run foreclosure or something.
But I'm just saying, we need to, and I'm encouraging all veterans, I ain't talking about who is the best candidate. Look at the evidence. Look at where we're at in this country.
Right.
We don't need anybody in government that's trying to take away the rights of people to do what they are privileged to do in this country. You know, we take this pledge of allegiance to the flag, right?
Yes.
To the republic for which you stand, one nation under God. And you have justice and liberty for all. Not some people. Not. I mean, I don't have to be a gay to understand that gay have a right under the government just like I do.
Right.
I don't have to be a woman to understand that I should have the choice over my body. You know, the government shouldn't be dictating to me what to do with my body.
Yeah.
You know, we need to look at what this Constitution is saying, and what some of these people that's in government right now, and what some of these people that's running for government is saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm disturbed. And in the state of Georgia, we got $7 billion in surplus money right now, right?
Right.
That's what the governor said here. Why do we have homeless people laying around the Capitol?
I mean, that's take the cake. You know, if we got that kind of money, we got to give back to the people who.
We got to take care of the people.
Yeah.
We need a government that's going to take care of our people.
Right.
And this is what we should be able to direct our vote to. I'm not talking about whether they're Republican or Democrats. I'm talking about whether they're going to do the right thing when they in office for the people, for all people. We cannot have people elected to office and get up there and start racism between the people.
Right.
You know, start separating people. And then we got something else too. We need a government that's concerned with the safety of our community. And any government that would allow war weapons in our communities, where we got mental illness as a major problem every day, is not somebody we should be electing to office to serve in our communities. You know, it is sad that we got all these mental problems, and a lot of them with veterans. 22 a day is committing suicide.
That's right.
You know, so we need to be focusing on stuff that matters. The government is supposed to collect taxes, and the taxes are supposed to take care of the people. Taxation without representation was the cause of the American Revolution. But now, here we are in America today with homeless people, with people being homeless under the bridges right near the Capitol, and the governor of our state will stand up and say, we got $7 billion in surplus funds. We ain't got nothing to do with it. This is Veterans Talk. It ain't nothing but a thing, but it's a thing we want you to tune into every Saturday, because we're trying to start neighborhood conversation about neighborhood issues, the things that affect us every day. It affects us every day, Bernard, and I want to thank you, brother, for, you know you've been going through a lot with your family and with your own struggle. You know, we struggle with our disabilities. You're 100%, I'm 100%.
Yes.
That means that we got issues. But, we deal with them in a way that we're responsible. And that way that we're responsible, we let our families help us.
That's right.
You know, because they're the one that take care of us anyway. So when we going through stuff, we should always think about them. And I love your wife. I call her my daughter. Why? Because I love you as my son.
Right.
And I know how she take care of you. I don't know. Sometimes I say, Lord, help her. I said, Lord, but I'm saying that not just for your wife or you because you know how close we are.
Right.
I'm saying that about every family member of a disabled veteran.
That's right.
Because they are amazing. You know, they take care of us when the government don't.
Mm-hmm.
They put up with us when we all out across the field.
All in left field. All
in left field. So I one day I want to have a disabled veteran family appreciation.
That would be nice.
Because, I look at these sisters and these brothers that deal with our disabilities, and I said, Lord, thank you for our community, for the love that we have in our families and our friends in our communities. You know, I want to say I showed up at your son's homegoing.
Yes.
And I was overcome with sadness because I knew your son.
Right.
And what kind of loving father he was. And I thought about his 7 children and how how he stood up for those children. You know, how he was a father that I wish all 43-year-olds could be like. You know. And I saw all these young people at this funeral. And it was sad because he was so young. But you know what? It wasn't how long he lived, but how well he lived.
Absolutely.
You know, and he lived a life that we could never forget. You know, and I know his children will never forget him because of the character that you raised, that y'all raised, that you and your wife raised and put in this young man. So I just wanted to throw that in there and knowing that. Because this is Veterans Talk. We're all about veterans. We're all about everything community. And when we can start recognizing that we can all get along in our communities, we're going to have to come up with a way to stop the violence in our community, period. We're going to get these elected officials, get these guns out of the community, but that's not going to stop the spirit that we have that's causing people to use guns against each other. You know, we got to come up with a way to get people to start loving each other more, start being more tolerant with each other. Because the violence in our community is worse than war.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a war zone in the community. I'm scared to go to the grocery store. I'm scared to go to the church. I'm scared to drive down the street because here might be somebody with an automatic weapon just shooting up and down the street. We got to get back to being a community where we care about our neighbors, where we are doing stuff that matters, that will eradicate crime. Mm-hmm. See, crime is the biggest cause of crime in every community is lack. Mm-hmm. You know, if you got a community and you got somebody in your community lacking, they're facing, utilities cutting off or rent not being paid. You know, it just be a time where you people get in the community, have a rent party and help each other.
Yeah.
Now they throw rocks at the people when they're getting put out, and they ready to go ravage through that stuff.
Right.
We need to get a better sense of community, like the military had. You know, we know we was up against racism in the community, but we overcame it by dealing with it, by confronting it every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and knowing that all of us had issues.
Right.
You know, and we had to confront those issues with each other, but we couldn't run away from them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we did a good job. It was an excellent job, because if you look at the U.S. military today, it is the most diverse, most ethnic part of our federal government, and it is the most effective part of our federal government. There's no better agency in the federal government than the U.S. military. I'm talking about all 5 branches. Wait a minute. Somebody say we got a 6th branch now. I think the Air Force should have been doing that, but you know, I'm gonna leave that because it's already there. It's already there. But I grew up under the 5 branches of the military. I'm gonna respect the what is Space Force or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Well, the Air Force was already in space.
Force, yeah.
You know, I think that what they should have did, just left the Air Force, gave the Air Force that power to expand themselves the way they did with the Marines when they did the SEALs.
Right.
You know what we got in our government. We got all these diverse people coming into our government and coming up with ideas. And you know, we got some people in Congress right now speaking out against the military. You got people that elected to office speak out against the U.S. military. How dare you?
Mm.
You know, I mean, what kind of, how are we letting this happen? These are the people we are electing to office. I'm glad the election is over. I'm thinking it's going to be a landslide in the right direction.
Mm.
But when Wednesday morning, when it's all over, we need to be calling whoever is elected, getting a meeting with them to talk about some issues. The PAC Act need to be amended.
Right.
You know, I mean, it was a good step in the right direction.
Right.
But it didn't go for enough. I'm thinking about all of the military bases in this country that it overlooked. Fort Gordon, Georgia veterans. Fort Gordon, right around Fort Gordon, Augusta, Georgia, some of the highest council demographics in this state. Right around Fort Gordon.
Let me just say this, a pastor and very close friend. We rally for everything. We rally Million Man March, Million Women March. Why don't we rally for a Million Young People March?
We need
for them to put down the weapons, and I think that would be a very good cause. We can march to Washington with the young people and make them put down the weapons. The thing with Camp Lejeune is that you can get it with the public health assessment. Right here, it tells you everything from front and back about causation. We're still doing study. I got a study to do with New River Air Station. So science is slow, but look, we got something in there, and we can probably build upon it.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying the day after the election, we need to call. I'm not talking about the national representatives now. I'm talking about the local representatives. Cause let me just give you why I want to call locally. The Georgia Department of Veteran Services, Bernard, you know them well.
Right.
They're supposed to be helping every veteran in the state get their benefits. We need to empower them to do their job.
Right.
You know, that comes from the state. That's on the state level. That
Right.
means getting the state, and they already got it set up there, empower that department to help every veteran get their benefits.
Yes.
If we did that, it would change the economic landscape of the community these veterans coming from.
Right.
Because you and I have worked with guys that was homeless, we know, and got benefits, and it's changed their lives.
Yes.
So why is the Georgia Department of Veteran Services not doing more to help them veterans up under the bridge? We need to call Tyrone right after Tuesday, Wednesday. We need to get on the phone and start calling these state representatives, Say, why you ain't giving no more money to these people that's working these claims, that's working for these veterans?
Yes.
You know, that would take a lot off me and you.
Very a lot.
You know, because we get people coming to us after they done been to them and got the stuff all messed up.
Got it all tangled up, and you got to try to unwind it, unstrangle it, and everything. Yes.
Listen, we need to make our government perform the way we perform in uniform.
That's right.
You know, if you want to see how government is supposed to perform, look at the U.S. military. Look at the diversity of the U.S. military today. Because it just started being integrated in 1954. But it is the most integrated, the most diverse entity in America, and the most effective part of our government. I want to salute my grandson and all them young people out there that's serving today. Just keep on doing what you're doing, because we're proud of you. And we know what the military code of conduct do. You can't talk back, but we can. Mm-hmm. We can talk for you. We're going to represent you. We're going to stand up. We're going to rally for you. And we're going to make sure that people understand the value of your service. So thank you.
Yeah. I got to say one thing. My grandson, he came out of the military, and he went over to law enforcement, and yesterday he became a Fulton County police officer.
See, listen.
22 years old.
And let me say this about Fulton County police folks. Man, you got a bunch of veterans over there that you know, and one that, you know, we need to make sure that they keep hiring veterans, you young veterans coming out of the military. You know, and one of the things that's happening with policing in this country because of the U.S. military, it's becoming more diverse. And those racial elements that we know that's there. Mm-hmm. See, at one time in my hometown, Atlanta, Georgia, your hometown, we had a police chief named Inman. We had a mayor named Maynard.
Maynard Jackson, yes.
That said, you all this stuff. He couldn't find, remember? He couldn't even find. What Maynard did was rewrote his job description. He rewrote his job description, made Maynard Eden the public safety commissioner. Because this police chief was racist, and he had people shooting people and putting knives and guns in their hand.
Wow.
You know, I mean, I'm not talking anything that ain't a matter of record.
Wow.
We overcame that because of all these young folks coming out of the military, white and black, that had a different attitude. They knew that they could work together, they could serve together, and they could make a big difference in government. And I'm so happy to see all of these veterans working in government now. I'm just saying, I know y'all don't get paid a whole lot of money for doing that. We got to look at this income inequity, Bernard, in 2023 too. That makes a lot of young people not want to go to work. You know, because they figure they can hustle better and they can get paid on the job.
You know, I just can't understand. Atlanta is the #1 place to do business, but the last state for wages. Mm-hmm. That makes no sense.
Well, because we keep the #1 son of Atlanta. And I'm gonna always say he was the #1 son of Atlanta, because we want every male born in Atlanta to know that they are sons of Atlanta. The #1 son right now I'm talking about is Maynard Jackson. Showed us what he could do with his law degree, with his education. Mm-hmm. Them folks want the airport so bad. It's what it is. It's the business airport in the world. Mm-hmm. And the only thing they can do is keep picking at it because they want the state to take it over. But it's the #1 generator, economic generator in the state, owned by the city of Atlanta, our hometown. Because one son of Atlanta used his education, his understanding of the law, and wrote up a bill, legislation that they're still trying to figure out how to unravel. Now that's like them they're trying to figure out how they built the pyramids. So what we got to do is just keep on looking to our greatness, looking to our unity in our community, and making a difference. Because see, veterans bring something to the community that no other demographic can bring. We brought knowledge of how to integrate. They didn't listen to us, but we brought knowledge of how to integrate, how we can all get along. And you know, some people don't want that because they know that's divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer. They know that. We have to make sure that they don't do that to our communities, to our cities, to our states anymore. Because right now we are watching a war that we are in. We are in a war. I'm so glad that all the wars been fought since Vietnam. They haven't lost 58,000 young men. That was the last war.
That was tragedy.
That was the last war that we just didn't know how to fight. We didn't fight it right. I know because I was there fighting it. We just riding around in circles. Mm-hmm. You know, until the politicians decide to withdraw us from the war and blame us for losing it. Mm-hmm. You know, that was a master plan of separation that we cannot. And my generation, I'm gonna say, my generation of veterans, you know, I'm just proud to be in that generation because we fought back. We fought back against the segregationists. We kept integrating, especially with my organization where we got a motto, never again will one generation of veterans abandon another. But we set up our organization, if you ain't no Vietnam vet, you can't come in. You know, mm-hmm. that was shooting ourselves in the foot. I understand why they did that because the other organization at the time was infected with racism. They wasn't ready to change. Mm. They just wasn't ready to change, and they wasn't gonna change. And if you look at the evolution of Georgia, it has been rising ever since we started integrating. Because we got all this diversity, all this different skill package and the experience that we are learning to work with together to make a better day. And it comes from our service. It came out of the military. Otherwise, they would never learn how to do all this stuff together. We need to keep teaching people how to get along. And we need to do it in our communities first now with this gun violence. This gun violence is a wicked, ugly picture that we have to look in the mirror and see every day we wake up. It's worse than every day. Now you're getting 12-year-olds killed on a bridge. Gun violence. Seeing a mama cry to the government saying, I asked for help for my child and didn't get it.
Tragedy.
This is Veterans Talk, y'all. It ain't nothing but a thing, but it's a thing we want you tuned into every Saturday afternoon because we are here doing the same thing we've been doing ever since we started the show. Just trying to make sense. Trying to make sense out of a sensitive situation, but we ain't crying, we working. We identifying the problem and we coming up with solutions to the problems. That's what military experience taught us to do. You see a problem and you got the resources to make it work right there, improvise. Mm-hmm. Reach over to the next guy and say, hey man, listen, how do I do this? You know, we done got to our community. I don't want to try and ask nobody for nothing. We all in the community together.
All in it together.
We're all in it together. And if we don't recognize that and start working like that, our communities ain't gonna be long. Because you got seniors my age that don't even want to talk with young people because they're scared of them. They're afraid of them. Wow. That's I don't want to be bothered. We got to be bothered. This is our community. These are our children. We have to give them the benefit of our experience and knowledge to keep them from making the same mistakes that we made. You know, and no generation is going to be perfect, but we're supposed to get better after every generation. But we got more, but we are more wicked.
More wicked.
We're more wicked. So we are here today. Bernard, I want to just thank you, brother. I know I've been trying to get you here for a minute.
Yeah.
But you got him.
Yes.
And the information that you're giving us today, and I kind of want to recap this a little bit, is that we really don't need a toxicologist to get the diagnosis, to get the benefits out of the Campbell Jones thing. That has been a frustration to me.
Right.
Because I have been trying to get people to go down to graded to this toxicologist stuff that the VA done set up.
Well, let me just say this. So toxicology can put the stamp on it, basically. But here's what you got to say. The nexus link got to compare like it is more likely than not likely.
That's the VA standard of review.
Right. The same thing. So if toxicology said, well, you got this disease type, and they go back and they study and do this, yeah, we can link that particular chemical to that disease. You see what I'm saying?
So what we can do, and I'm good at augmenting what the diagnosis and the doctors medical say. I'm good at augmenting. I'll take it and wrap it around together. So I can say the toxicologist reports, like the health effects, public effects that you got there, and I could include them with a regular diagnosis of a condition to explain it. Now I'm ready to fight, y'all. Get back to
you want to be able to fight on both sides. You want to be able to fight on the benefit side, and you want to be able to fight on the tort side. So that's why it's so important for veterans to be service connected. So they can, hey, look, we're doing studies now. Like I said, we're not being a public setting. We're doing them on Zoom. We're doing the New River Air Station that it was highly contaminated. So and so on and so on. So I'm here to help anybody who want to learn about this process. You can reach me at 404-453-2255. My name is Bernard, Bernard, last name Hodore, Hodore. Phone number is area code 404-453-2255. The number again is area code 404-453-2255. Thanks.
And it ain't too late to call in at 470-251-4707 if you want to talk. It's Veterans Talk. We are here, veterans talking to veterans and the community about all things veterans and the community, because we are community builders, not community destroyers. We are protectors of the community, not invaders. And so we need your help. We need you to tune in every Saturday afternoon. This is kind of laid back time for everybody. So we want to come into your homes and have this conversation with you about veterans talking to veterans. See, one of the things that we know, if that we're talking to each other, that means that we can start looking at how we can solve the problems that we are having in our communities. And sometimes that's the only way you can reach a resolution is through talking to somebody that have been there, did that. Most of the time when you see people come on this show, they're coming back from raw experiences. There are people that I know that are working in the community, or people that I know that know them are working in the community. I know what Bernard does personally because I work with him. And we know we've been doing this for years. And so what we're doing today is finally getting them on the show, finally getting this Camp Lejeune stuff, because I really thought we couldn't get a diagnosis except through a toxicologist. Now I know that I got some clients that I'm finna get diagnosed. Just send them on, get a diagnosis, and go to work. Because the way the lawyer's going at it, Bernard, the money ain't gonna be that long.
No. And they're asking ridiculous prices, 40%, some of them, which should be the standard 20 to 25% if you go to court.
But now, the other part that you pointed out, you don't even need a lawyer to get none of that.
No.
That's why I brought you here, so BBE can help them get that.
Absolutely.
And they're not gonna cost you like that.
No.
So we're just not coming up here and crying about the problem. We bringing solutions to the table that really works. Yes. Because I'm gonna tell you something else you just pointed out about toxic and contamination. Since we've been doing the Agent Orange stuff, so Agent Orange, then you got Camp Lejeune. There are over 200 military bases in this country and around the world that's contaminated.
Absolutely.
And it ain't just with the burn pits. We did get that into legislative law.
Right.
But it ain't just with the burn pits. It's with all kind of other chemicals that's being used, rightfully so, to help, things that better in the military.
That's right.
But we need people in the military that's not afraid to say that some of this stuff that they're using is harmful to people,
Yes.
and change up.
Yes.
See, one of the things about the military, it's hard for them to get it changed. It's hard for them to recognize that they ain't got it all together. But that's where veterans come into play. When we get out of the military service, we know that we have encouraged something as a result of that service. We need to make sure the community know it.
Could you imagine kids bathing, drinking, eating? I mean, we did it all. Swimming. I mean, we done it all. We consumed this water, and the water was equivalent to, levels we never seen before, never even heard before.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew it was contaminated, but for whatever reason, they didn't bring it up.
Well, government control.
Right.
We got to understand that's what we're talking about, the vote.
Mm-hmm.
See, if we get the right people in government, a lot of this stuff won't be as bad as it is, because government was designed to protect the people and to help the people, right?
Right.
That's why I can't understand. I can have $7 billion in money surplus. And watch pass right by people sleeping homeless on the streets, going to the Capitol.
Wow.
Listen, you know how our hometown's constructed, Bernard.
Right, absolutely.
You got City Hall, you got the Capitol right there.
Right.
And you got bridges where people up under the bridges, all within our shot. I can't help but to see it when I go down there. I know the people that go to work down there every day got to see it every day.
Got to.
Taxation without representation. We done all rounded back to that. But you know what? The way the voter suppression thing work is to make people ignorant of how the government supposed to work.
Right.
So you say you feel like, well, I can't do nothing about it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can do something about it by vetting the people we put in our governments. We got to vet them. If they don't come up with the same value system that we pledge allegiance to,
yes, sir,
we don't need to be involved in them vote.
Yes, sir.
Because you know yourself, and Kenny know, if you showed up late, you got Article 15.
Article 15.
That was the first
Article
thing.
86.
First thing they do, they teach you compliance.
That's right.
But we got a government, we electing people to the government and change the law. They ain't even responsible to the electorate. I mean, we don't put people in office that ain't even responsible to us. Now, I want y'all to think about that when you go to the poll Tuesday. I want you to go to the poll Tuesday and cap this. Cap it. I ain't telling you who to vote for. I want you to vote for this democracy. Whoever you believe that's going to work this democracy best for the people, vote for them. I mean, I tell you who I voted for. I already voted. Because I didn't want to make no chance that I might be sick or something come
right.
Tuesday.
That's right.
I went down and put my vote in.
That's
and
right.
I want you to do it. If you ain't did it, do it Tuesday. Don't sit at home and say it don't make no difference, because then you have made a difference.
That's right.
You've given a vote against the democracy because it's designed. Think about this. They didn't even want you to vote on a Friday after the Thanksgiving. Why? You should vote every day that you need to vote to get the vote done. There should be no restrictions on vote except voter's ID. You need to know who's going to vote. But other than that, why are we trying to restrict how people vote? You don't want nobody to stand in line. I stood in line until somebody said, oh man, come on, you can go up to the front. I kind of felt bad because everybody else was standing in line.
Mm-hmm.
But at 76 years, 75 years old with heart disease and PTSD and some other stuff that ain't been diagnosed, and I was ready to take that lunch and went on into the poll. But it's critical that you vote. I've seen a lot of young men die. Most of my peers that died in Vietnam wasn't even eligible to vote because at that time their voting age was 21. Mm-hmm. And if you go to Sons of Atlanta.org, Sons of Atlanta, when you get ready to buy your book, look at the faces. most of these young men from Washington High, Carver High, Price High, Turner High, Archer High, never had the right to vote. They was too young to vote, but not too young to die. Veterans Talk. It ain't nothing but a thing. But it's a thing we want you tuned into because it's laid back time on Saturday evening in the ATL, y'all. And ain't nowhere like the ATL. Listen, I love my hometown, man. Listen, I want to be in Piedmont Park. I want to be able to go sit in Piedmont Park and just sit to this memorial. You know, just sit around it to kind of feel the spirit of these young men that died for this democracy, and they were never able to vote.
It's been a long time coming.
A long time coming. But like Anthony would say, it was divinely inspired. So it couldn't be stopped.
Couldn't be stopped.
It couldn't be stopped. You know, and you can talk about your homeboy too, because we got our number one living son of Atlanta. Talk about Michael Julian Barnes for a minute. Just give him his prop, bro.
Yeah, I like to say thank you, Mike, and doing excellent work. And we want you to know that we're with you every step of the way. We're very interested in getting this project going, and get it resolved. And we will be with you there. And
I'm gonna say this, we got a lot of beautiful people on the city council, on Atlanta City Council.
Absolutely.
And they have embraced this project. We got one person on city council that stopped the project from being funded last year,
right.
And this year. We're gonna defer to him and say, okay, he just believed that it wasn't gonna be approved, but it's been approved, y'all. It's been approved. It's been approved by National Park Service. It's been approved by the Piedmont Park Conservatory. It's been approved by the Atlanta City Council. It's been approved by Park and Recreation. It's been approved by everybody that we need approved for. We need you to buy a brick so we can break ground and finish the construction. Go to sonsofatlanta.org, sonsofatlanta.org. Buy a brick. Buy a brick and put your name on this project. You can put your name on it, and it'll be there as long as the project, as long as the memorial is going to be there. And I'm going to tell you something. It'll be there 200 or 300 years from now.
Yes.
And your name will be there as a person that believed enough in what these young men died fighting for, that you wanted to make it a symbol in their hometowns forever. And this is about our hometown, folks. The ATL, we're here doing what the ATL people been doing. I'm a Grady baby, and I like telling people that, even though some of y'all born in Crawford Loan and some of the other hospitals, some of the other hospitals, but you're still sons of Atlanta. So don't take that. That's just like telling y'all that the Bulldogs just a whoop with Turner High. We can turn them loose. We used to whoop Howard High, couldn't turn them loose. Archer High, Price High, but we was all having fun. It was just a game. We enjoyed living in this city, and some of the young men coming from these high schools died. These are the sons of Atlanta that we're talking about honoring now. They have never really been honored except in their own homes. When they came home in that box, when they got the flag, the parents got the flag. That was the last honor they ever got.
That's sad.
Veterans Talk. We are doing it though. That's say we're the last major city in the country, the last major city in the state that have built a memorial for their loss in Vietnam. Everybody else has done it except Atlanta, but Atlanta is finally coming to the table, and the way we're coming to the table, Bernard, it's a call to unity. We got a call to unity because we got 9 cities in Fulton County that's going to be meeting in Piedmont Park to honor their sons in a way that never been done before. To next week. And I just want to shout out to our station manager. JoJo ain't here, but Jackie is, and these some amazing young sons of Atlanta. That got the show together, giving us the opportunity to be here every Saturday and to become a voice for veterans in the community. So on Cleveland Avenue too, right down the street from my house. Right up the street from Kenneth's place, So we're in our own hood.
Yeah,
we're in our own hood, man. This is amazing to be in our own hood. I'm just thankful for that because see, we're touching young people. We're touching people that you know, that's gonna take over. One day I'll be looking at Veterans Talk, but I won't be the host.
Mm-hmm.
I can think about that, man.
Those are big shoes to follow.
You know, think about it. Some other young veteran will be up here talking about this Veterans Talk. It ain't nothing but a thing. Thing the old man started a long time ago that we trying to make sense still out of. See you next week, y'all. Thank you.